this is the part where we're actually on the dance floor of the Hoedown, and we're introducing ourselves to each other. This is like a big dance, like the whole evening of dance, and we're looking to do the Hoedown with dance partners. So this is sort of like, how do you do? Very nice, man. Just a, yeah. Yeah. So there's that moment where the dance stops, and I kind of envisioned when I was writing this, like, what creates a real Hoedown evening? You know, like the part of it is like the intensity of the minimalist rhythms that just keep pulsing. You know, it just keeps you going, and it keeps the dancers going. And there's when I was putting my method together, the O'Connor method, to learn how to play, I was researching a lot of history, and there's a lot of accounts, like even in some of the early presidents, like Thomas Jefferson, who also played fiddle music and classical. He was actually one of the first hybrids. Yeah, right. He did both. He actually premiered. He actually played on one of the premieres of a Mozart piece in the White House himself. He played the violin part.
Wow.
Yes.
I gotta look that up.
The American premiere, not the Viennese premiere, but the American premiere. And so he was a big fan of Mozart, but he was also a big fan of American music, of course, and you know, he was just loving it. And so they would have Hoedowns at the White House, and they would go last into the evening. Everybody was playing, not only his guests, but all the help, you know, in the kitchen would come out. Everybody would start grabbing an instrument and would go all into the night until people literally, I mean, the accounts were like, the Hoedown was over when everybody was just laying on the floor, exhausted, couldn't go anymore.
That sounds about right after this.
So I wanted to bring some of those elements into the actual compositional language of the piece.
And then it goes so far beyond that too, because just the joy in the music, and when that, you know, when the second theme just kind of opens up, there's nothing about that in a Hoedown. That's kind of a more of a classical concept to combine two separate feels of music in the same piece, obviously, and then go beyond. So it's just such joy, and obviously they're dance rhythms, but you'd be hard pressed to dance to some of this.
How do you feel when you play this movement?
I feel like a rock star.
Yeah. You do?
I do.
Because of the rhythms, or the
rhythms,
the idea of it?
They're different, so many different rhythms going on at the same time, and then especially your part where you go da 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 da. It's really funky.
Yeah, that's a very.
It's really really cool. I really like that.
Yeah, there are definitely some rock elements, I think, influences in this piece. To my ear, and not just this movement, but the first movement too that we played.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's like a kind of a rock bass line.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a fusion synthesis of lots of ideas going on here.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
You guys just played it amazingly. I think that high sonorous line that we do, I think about that. I mean, that's what I visualize when I hear some really great Hoedown music. Like when I'm hearing it really played by the masters, that's where my mind goes. It goes to this song. And that's what the greatest fiddlers could do, is they could play noodle and play all this virtuosic stuff. But if they were really, you know, kind of putting it in a temporal place where the music was humming, then
there's something that goes beyond what they're,
the listener starts to hear things come together: nature, habitat, journey, you know, history, diversity, and you know, all the things that Americana does in the culture.
But it's so creatively put together. I like to refer to these as you're going to hear quite a lot of what I like to call zipper rhythms. They go together like this.
Oh yeah.
And it's a kind of Brahms-like, in the way that Brahms liked to use the rhythms in an aggregate and put them together in this composite form. There's a lot of that going on in the score in this piece. It's very, very cool. And then contrast that with this soaring, very American-sounding melodic theme, which I think you're really going to love. I could talk about this all day, but better I'd love to play it.
Let's play.